June 26, 1943. Over France. 24,000 feet. Second Lieutenant Robert S. Johnson was fighting for his life. A German FW-190 fighter had jumped him from behind. Before Johnson could react, 20 mm cannon shells ripped through his P-47 Thunderbolt. The cockpit exploded around him. Metal fragments tore into his body. His right hand was mangled. Blood sprayed across the instrument panel. The canopy was shattered. Wind screamed through the holes at 400 miles per hour. Johnson tried to bail out, grabbed the canopy release. Pulled. Nothing. The canopy was jammed, damaged by cannon fire, stuck in its tracks. He was trapped inside a dying aircraft. The German pilot saw Johnson struggling, pulled alongside, close enough that Johnson could see his face through the canopy. For 30 seconds, the German pilot flew in formation with Johnson, staring at him, deciding whether to finish the kill. Johnson was helpless, couldn't bail out, couldn't fight back, could only wait for the German to fire again and end it. The German raised his hand, not in a fist, in a salute. Then he peeled away and disappeared. Why? Why didn't he finish the kill? Johnson would never know for sure. Maybe the German ran out of ammunition. Maybe he respected an enemy pilot who wouldn't quit. Maybe he was tired of killing. Whatever the reason, Robert Johnson was alive. Barely. Now he had to fly a crippled P-47 with 200-plus bullet and cannon holes. No canopy. Wind tearing at him. Instruments destroyed. Hydraulics failing. Controls damaged 250 miles back to England across the English Channel. If the aircraft fell apart, he'd die trapped in the cockpit. If German fighters found him, he'd die defenseless. If he ran out of fuel over water, he'd die in the Channel. But if he could just hold it together, keep flying, keep the engine running, keep pointing toward England, he might make it home. Johnson wrapped his mangled hand in a rag, gripped the control stick with his good hand, and flew. This is day 8 of 100 days of World War II heroes. The story of Robert S. Johnson, the P-47 pilot who became America's top ace in Europe with 27 confirmed kills. But his legend wasn't built on kills. It was built on one impossible flight home in an aircraft that shouldn't have been able to fly. The kid from Oklahoma. Robert Samuel Johnson was born February 21st, 1920, in Lawton, Oklahoma. Working-class family. Father was a railroad mechanic, mother was a homemaker. Childhood, the Great Depression. Johnson grew up during the Great Depression. Family struggled financially. Father's railroad job kept family barely afloat. Johnson worked odd jobs as teenager. Tough times built toughness in him. The aviation dream. Like Richard Bong, Johnson was obsessed with aviation. Built model airplanes, constantly read every aviation magazine, dreamed of flying, but couldn't afford flight training. High school. Johnson attended Lawton High School. Average student. B's and C's. Good at math and science. Shy with girls, worked after school. Mechanic jobs. Graduation, 1938. After high school, seeking direction. After graduating, Johnson worked as a mechanic. Good with engines and machines, but wanted more than mechanic work, still dreaming of flying. No money for college or flight school. The Army Air Corps, 1941. In 1941, with war coming, Johnson saw opportunity. Army Air Corps needed pilots, would train for free. Pay wasn't much, but better than mechanic work, chance to fly. Johnson enlisted in Army Air Corps in November 1941, 1 month before Pearl Harbor. Flight training, 1942. Primary training, basic flying skills, steerman trainers. Johnson excelled immediately. Instructors noted, aggressive, confident, good hands. Basic training, BT-13 Valiant trainers, more advanced maneuvers. Formation, flying, continued to excel. Advanced training, AT-6, Texan trainers, combat maneuvers, gunnery training, fighter tactics. The difference Johnson versus Bong, Richard Bong, day 5, was smooth, methodical, precise. Robert Johnson was aggressive, instinctive, physical. Bong flew like a farmer, careful and efficient. Johnson flew like a fighter, bold and decisive. Both styles worked. Different paths to excellence. Graduation, February 1943. Johnson received his wings and commission as second lieutenant in February 1943. He was 23 years old. He'd been in the Army for 15 months. He was ready for combat. Assignment. Johnson was assigned to the 61st Fighter Squadron, 56th Fighter Group, 8th Air Force One of the premier fighter groups in Europe. Aircraft, P-47 Thunderbolt. The P-47 Thunderbolt, the Jug. The P-47 was different from Bong's P-38 Lightning, P-47 specs, single engine, R2800 radial, 2,000 plus horsepower, top speed, 433 miles per hour, weight, 17,500 pounds, heaviest single engine fighter, armament, 8.50 caliber machine guns, 4 per wing. Nickname, Jug, short for Juggernaut. Characteristics, advantages, incredibly tough, could absorb massive damage. Fast in a dive, heavyweight helped. Powerful armament, 8.50 cals, devastating. Long range with drop tanks, excellent high-altitude performance. Disadvantages, heavy, couldn't turn with lighter fighters. Slow initial climb rate. Large and bulky, needed altitude to fight effectively. A philosophy, the P-47 wasn't a dogfighter. He was a boom and zoom fighter. Use altitude advantage, dive on enemy, build speed. Fire, burst, zoom, back to altitude. Use speed. Repeat, never try to turn fight with more agile aircraft. Use speed and power. Deployment, April 1943. Johnson and the 56th Fighter Group deployed to England in April 1943. Base, RAF Horsham St. Faith, near Norwich, England. First combat. April 29, 1943. Johnson flew his first combat mission on April 29, 1943. A fighter sweep over Belgium and France looking for German aircraft. No contact, no kills, but baptism in combat flying, learning the hard way. May 1943. Johnson's first month of combat was humbling. No kills, nearly shot down twice. Realized training didn't fully prepare him. Combat was faster, more chaotic than expected. One incident in particular scared him. During a dogfight with the German WWII, Johnson got separated from his squadron. Found himself alone, 50 miles inside enemy territory with German fighters hunting him. He dove for the deck, low altitude, flew at treetop level, used the P-47 speed to escape back to England. Johnson later said, "I learned more in that 5-minute flight than in all my training. I learned what fear felt like, and I learned I could control it." First kill, June 13, 1943. Johnson's first aerial victory came on June 13, 1943, over France. The mission, escort bombers to France. The contact, German FW-190 fighters intercepted. The fight, Johnson spotted an FW-190 attacking a bomber. Dove on the German, fired a long burst from his 8.50 caliber machine guns. The FW-190 exploded. First kill. Johnson was an ace in training. Needed 4 more for ace state of 5 total kills. June 26, 1943, the day that made him a legend. 13 days after his first kill, Robert Johnson nearly died. The mission, escort B-17 bombers on raid deep into France. The situation, after escorting bombers to target, Johnson's squadron was jumping by German fighters on the return flight. FW-190s everywhere. Massive dogfight. Attack. Johnson was focused on an FW-190 in front of him when another FW-190 jumped him from behind. The German pilot opened fire with 20 mm cannons from point-blank range, maybe 100 yards. At that distance, he couldn't miss. What happened? 20 mm cannon shells tore through Johnson's P-47. Damage, cockpit windscreen shattered. Right side of fuselage riddled with holes. Tail surfaces damaged. Control cables partially severed. Hydraulic system hit. Fluid leaking. Oil system damaged, engine cylinder heads. Punctured ammunition boxes exploded, radios destroyed. Personal injury, metal fragments hit Johnson's body, minor wounds. Right hand mangled by shrapnel, face cut by flying glass, partially blinded by blood. The immediate problem, the aircraft was dying. Systems failing, controls barely responding. Johnson's instinct, bail out. He reached for the canopy release, pulled it. The canopy didn't budge. It was jammed, damaged by cannon fire, stuck in its tracks. He was trapped. The German pilot. The German FW-190 pilot pulled alongside Johnson. Close formation, maybe 20 feet away. Close enough to see each other's faces. Johnson later described the moment. He could see I was trapped. He could see I was helpless. He could see I was bleeding. He knew one more burst would finish me. He just stared at me. For what felt like forever, but was probably 30 seconds. Then he raised his hand, gave me a salute, and flew away. I don't know why he didn't kill me. Maybe he was out of ammunition. Maybe he thought I was dead anyway. Maybe he just couldn't bring himself to shoot a helpless man. Whatever the reason, I owed him my life. The flight home. Now Johnson faced a different problem. Getting home. The situation. 250 miles from England. Aircraft catastrophically damaged, canopy jammed, trapped inside. Wind screaming through cockpit at 400 miles per hour. Controls barely functioning, no radio destroyed. Right hand mangled, partially blinded by blood. The options? Option 1, try to belly land in France. Problem: behind enemy lines, would be captured. Germans might shoot him during landing, captured pilots in German POW camps. Option 2, try to reach England. Problem: 250 miles over enemy territory, then English Channel aircraft might fall apart, might run out of fuel, might be attacked again. Johnson chose option 2. He was going home. The flight. For the next hour, Johnson nursed his dying P-47 across France towards the English Channel. Challenges: 1. Control issues. Elevator controls damaged, hard to control pitch. Rudder damaged, hard to control yaw. Ailerons partially working, roll control compromised. Required constant attention to keep aircraft level. 2. Engine issues. Cylinder heads damaged, engine losing power. Oil leaking, engine might seize. Overheating, cooling system damaged. Had to baby the throttle to keep it running. 3. Physical issues. Right hand mangled, couldn't use it. Flying with left hand, only blood in eyes. Vision impaired. Wind blast, no canopy, 400 miles per hour wind. Cold at altitude. Shivering, hypothermia, risk. 4. Navigation, compass damaged, radio destroyed. Couldn't call for help. Had to navigate by landmarks and dead reckoning. If he got lost, he'd run out of fuel over water. The discipline. Johnson later described his mindset. I focused on one thing. Keep flying. Don't think about the damage. Don't think about the pain. Don't think about what could go wrong. Just fly. 1 minute at a time. Keep the nose pointed toward England. Keep the engine running. Keep the wings level. I talked to the airplane. I said, come on, girl, you can make it. Just a little farther. Don't quit on me now. And she didn't quit. That P-47 Thunderbolt saved my life. They called it the Jug, but to me it was beautiful. The English Channel. After an hour of flying, Johnson reached the English Channel, the 21-mile stretch of water between France and England. This was the most dangerous part. If engine quit over water, he'd crash in the channel trapped in cockpit. He'd drown. Channel water was 55.8 DGF. Hypothermia in minutes. Rescue was unlikely. Johnson pushed the throttle slightly forward. The engine sputtered but held. He started across, reaching England. 20 minutes later, Johnson crossed the English coast. He'd made it, but he wasn't safe yet. He still had to land. The landing challenge. Problems. Hydraulics destroyed. No landing gear control. No brakes, no flaps. Controls barely functional. One chance to get it right if he crashed. Trapped in cockpit. Fire risks. The plan. Johnson radioed ahead. Wait, his radio was destroyed. He couldn't communicate with the tower. They didn't know he was coming. They didn't know he was damaged. He'd have to land without clearance, without coordination, and hope the runway was clear. The approach. Johnson lined up for final approach. Landing gear wouldn't come down. Hydraulics destroyed. Would have to belly land. No flaps. No way to slow down. Coming in fast. One shot to get it right. The landing. Johnson came in high and fast. Cut the engine just before the runway. The P-47 dropped. Wham! Belly hit the runway, sparks flying, metal screeching. The aircraft slid down the runway like a giant sled and stopped. Johnson was alive. The damage assessment. When ground crews examined Johnson's P-47, they couldn't believe it had flown. Documented damage, 200-plus bullet and cannon holes. Cockpit windscreen destroyed. Tail surfaces shredded, wing structures damaged. Engine cylinder heads punctured, hydraulic system destroyed, oil system. Punctured control cables, partially severed radios, and electronics destroyed. One mechanic said, this airplane should have fallen apart in the air. There's no way it should have been able to fly 250 miles. Another mechanic. The P-47 is tough, but this is ridiculous. This pilot must have made a deal with God. Johnson's injuries. Surprisingly minor. Right hand mangled. Shrapnel wounds. Multiple minor cuts from flying glass and metal bruising and contusions. No life-threatening injuries. He was grounded for 2 weeks while his hand healed. The impact. Johnson's survival became legendary. Stories spread through 8th Air Force pilots gained confidence in P-47's toughness. If Johnson's P-47 could survive 200 holes, mine can survive anything. Morale boost. The German pilot. Johnson never learned who the German pilot was who spared his life. Some historians speculate it might have been Oberleutnant Egon Meyer, a German ace who was known for chivalrous behavior. Others think the Germans simply ran out of ammunition. Johnson's opinion: I don't care why he didn't shoot, I'm just grateful he didn't. If he survived the war, I'd like to shake his hand and thank him. Return to combat. July 1943. After 2 weeks' recovery, Johnson returned to combat. He was more determined than ever. December 1943. The kill count climbs. Johnson's skill and confidence grew. July 1943. 2 kills, total 3. August 1943. 3 kills, total 6. Ace status achieved September 1943. 2 kills, total 8. October 1943. 3 kills, total 11. November 1943. 2 kills, total 13. December 1943. 1 kill, total 14. The rivalry friendship, Francis Gabby Gabreski. Another pilot in the 56th Fighter Group was Captain Francis Gabby Gabreski, a Polish-American pilot who was also racking up kills. The competition. Media loved the story. Johnson versus Gabreski, who would be 8th Air Force's top ace. The reality? Johnson and Gabreski were friends, respected each other, shared tactics and experiences, helped each other improve. Competition was friendly, not hostile. Gabreski later said, Bob Johnson was one of the finest pilots I ever knew. We pushed each other to be better. That's what makes you great, having someone excellent to measure yourself against. 1944, the peak year. January-May 1944. Johnson's kill count continued climbing. January 1944, 3 kills, total 17. February 1944, 1 kill, total 18. March 1944, 2 kills, total 20. April 1944, 4 kills, total 24. May 1944, 3 kills, total 27. May 8th, 1944, final kill. Johnson's 27th and final kill came on May 8th, 1944. A German Me-109 over Brunswick, Germany. Why did he stop? Johnson had completed his combat tour. 91 combat missions. Regulation tour was 50 missions. 27 confirmed kills. Numerous probable kills and damaged aircraft. Never shot down. Never forced to bail out. Except June 26th when Canopy was jammed. The Army ordered him home. Final record, May 1944. Confirmed kills, 27 German aircraft. Probable kills, 7 additional damaged. 10 plus missions. 91 combat missions. Combat hours, 500 plus hours. Times shot down. 0 times wounded. Minor, June 26, 1943 incident. Comparison, 8th Air Force top aces, Europe. Francis Gabby Gabreski, 28 kills. Later added 6.5 in Korea, 34.5 total. Robert S. Johnson, 27 kills. George Preddy, 26.83 kills. KIA, December 1944. John C. Meyer, 24 kills. Francis Gerard, 16 kills. Johnson was number 2 ace in 8th Air Force in Europe. Number 2 American ace in European theater, behind Gabreski. Home, June 1944. Johnson returned to the United States in June 1944 as a celebrity, 2nd highest scoring ace in Europe. Hero of the 200 Holes incident featured in newspapers and magazines used for war bond tours and publicity. The war bond tours. Like Audie Murphy, John Basilone, and Alvin York before him, Johnson spent months touring America, giving speeches about the air war, selling war bonds, visiting aircraft factories, meeting political leaders, inspiring the public. Johnson hated it. He wanted to be flying, not talking. Request to return. In late 1944, Johnson requested to return to combat. War in Europe, still ongoing, felt he should be flying, wanted to increase his score. The Army's response, denied. Johnson was too valuable for publicity and training. His survival story boosted morale. His experience valuable for training new pilots, risk of losing. America's number 2 ace was unacceptable. Johnson was grounded for duration of war, post-war life. Immediate post-war, 1,945 to 1,950 S. After the war, Johnson faced the same question as other heroes. What now? Aviation career. Test pilot for Republic Aviation, maker of P-47. Helped develop new aircraft. Corporate aviation executive. Writing, published, Thunderbolt, 1958. Memoir of his combat experiences became one of the best first-person accounts of fighter combat. Still read by pilots and historians today. Public speaking. Continued giving speeches about WWII aviation safety advocate, mentored young pilots. Later life. Johnson largely stayed out of spotlight. Lived quietly, raised family, worked in aviation industry. Attended veterans' reunions. Occasional interviews and appearances. December 27th, 1998. Death. Robert S. Johnson died of kidney failure at age 78. He was buried with military honors. The legacy. Combat record, 27 confirmed kills. Number 2 in 8th Air Force. 91 combat missions, never shot down. Survived impossible damage. 200 holes incident. The P-47, advocate. Johnson was fierce defender of P-47 Thunderbolt. Believed it was best fighter of WWII. Biased but understandable. Credited aircraft with saving his life. Advocated for its reputation against P-51 fans. The survivor. Johnson's legend rests on survival as much as kills. Any pilot can get lucky kills. Surviving 200 holes requires skill, discipline, toughness. His June 26, 1943 flight inspired thousands of pilots. The comparison, Bong versus Johnson. Richard Bong, Day 5, 40 kills. American record, Pacific Theater. P-38 Lightning, twin engine. Methodical, precise, calculating killed in test flight accident. Robert S. Johnson, Day 8, 27 kills. Number 2 in Europe. P-47 Thunderbolt, single engine. Aggressive, instinctive, physical, survived 200 bullet holes, lived to 78. Different aircraft, different theaters, different styles, both legends. The numbers. June the 26th, 1943. Damage. 200 plus bullet and cannon holes, distance flown damaged. 250 miles, flight time damaged. Approximately 1 hour controls, partially destroyed engine. Damaged but running. Wounds, minor, miraculous. German pilot's decision. Spared his life. Landing, successful belly landing. Survival against all odds. Total combat. Missions, 91 kills. 27 confirmed probables. 7 damage. 10 plus shot down, 0 bailed out, 0 wounded, minor once. Awards, Distinguished Service Cross, Silver Star, Distinguished Flying Cross. 10 Air Medal. 7 Purple Heart. June 26, 1943. Over France. 200 plus bullet holes. Canopy jammed. Trapped inside. German pilot spares his life. 1 hour flight in a dying aircraft. 250 miles. Engine failing, controls broken, hand mangled, vision blurred. But Robert S. Johnson kept flying. Talked to his airplane. Come on, girl, don't quit on me. And she didn't quit. The P-47 Thunderbolt brought him home. That's Robert S. Johnson. Not the highest scoring ace. Not the most famous pilot. But the man who survived the impossible and lived to tell about it. 27 kills, 91 missions. 200 bullet holes. 0 times shot down. The P-47 pilot who proved that toughness matters as much as skill. That survival is its own kind of victory. That sometimes the most important mission isn't shooting down the enemy. It's making it home alive.